Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Lloyd and Arizona have gotten their first name out of the transfer portal, and it's a familiar face to the city of Tucson, Evan Nelson. Damon and I are going to talk all about that. Tobe Awaka returning. I have some surprise things to throw at Damon, and we have a very special guest returning to the show. Erika will join us to talk women's basketball. It is the AZ Wildcats podcast in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome into the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall. I'm with my guy, Kevin Thomas, per usual. We will be talking to Erika later into the show when she joins the program. And, of course, this is the AZ Wildcats podcast. Thank you guys so much for being here. We appreciate y'all. Happy Friday to everybody. Hopefully it's a nice, steady day for everybody on the street, the work streets. Kevin, drop a like on this video if you are here and feel so inclined. But Kevin, we did have some news last night that we're going to get into. But first off, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, feeling great. It is a happy Friday, Damon Dog. I'm happy to be here talking Arizona sports with you yet again on this Friday. Happy to have Erika joining us about halfway through the show to give her takes, because she, Lord knows, she has a lot of them on women's basketball. And yeah, overall, just excited. Evan Nelson is also an exciting player. So, Damon, it has been a good week. Excited to get into the weekend. We have the golf tournament coming up tomorrow. If you would like to join us for that, our scramble tomorrow at Dobson Ranch, 2 p.m. shotgun start.
Absolutely electric. Still not. You're not going to be, missing out on those tickets. You can still get them now, and it's going to be a great time. We love our friends out there at Dobson Ranch. It's always a great time. Beautiful course. If you guys haven't been there already, it's one of those things that you're going to have to check off that bucket list, Kevin, because it's one of the best courses here that we have in the Valley. If you're in Tucson, head on up. It's a quick drive, and guess what? If you're a good golfer and you win, there's a lot of prizes that we're giving out.
And if you're a great golfer, sorry to cut you off, but if you're a great golfer and you get that hole in one, you get that 2-year lease paid off on the Sanderson Ford. So yeah, bring your talents down to Dobson Ranch.
Man, that would be electric. Could you imagine?
Oh, I can't.
Do you think they'll let us give it a try?
I mean, they shouldn't let me anywhere within 10 feet of a golf club, because I don't even know how to hold the golf club properly.
I hit every time I swing and hit a golf ball, I slice it 180 degrees in the opposite direction of where I'm trying to hit it. So yeah, not the best golfer here. Not the best golfer podcast, I think,
Correct.
Between me and Kevin. But here's the thing. Me and Kevin will both be out there. We'll be hanging out, and it's going to be a great time, because as much as I'm not a good golfer athletically, I love the vibes of golf and just being out in nature, on the course, lots of green in front of you, maybe have a couple drinks, have a couple beers, and just hang out and have a good time. But Kevin, we're having a good time here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, talking about Evan Nelson coming to Arizona. And we got a couple people in the chat here already. Eric Brotherton saying, feeling closer and closer to a Final Four next year. Absolutely love it. Trevor Bradyen, how good is Evan Nelson? We're going to tell you exactly how good Trevor Nelson is, so stay tuned for that. David, I do not have a Masters pick. I haven't been super locked in. My Masters pick is not the ASU kid that peed in the creek yesterday. I'll tell you.
That was unbelievable.
That's my one take I have. It's the most ASU thing ever, is it
And
not?
then he doubled down and said, I would do it again.
And it's not just that, it's the freaking upside down hat too, man. It's so ASU in every sense of the word. And I love the ASU fans getting hyped about it while everyone is like, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing
Do we
here?
have any respect for society and, rules that we have in place? And everybody's like, this rules. This is so Sun Devils. And you're like, all right, man, sounds good. But absolutely, we're going to be locked in, this golf scramble happening during Masters week. It's just a great time to go out there and get golfing. So If you haven't done so already, check out our gophnx.com/events. Maybe get yourself a sign up real quick before it is too late. And Kevin, let's start getting into it. I mean, you want to go straight into Evan Nelson?
I do indeed.
All right.
Actually, real quick, because it's gonna be a faster topic. We should touch on Tobe Awaka announcing his return officially, because Arizona has, quote, re-signed their college basketball scholarship player in Tobe Awaka, who we are thankful that Arizona did reach an agreement with Tobe Awaka and find a way to get him back on next year's roster, because with the departure of Vasar, you absolutely positively could not have let Tobe Awaka get out of your grasp. And again, that we're going to talk about Evan Nelson here probably in about a minute, but it adds to the Evan Nelson thing, because getting Tobe Awaka back we haven't really talked about it as such, but it is a check mark off the list for the offseason shopping list if you're Tommy Lloyd, because you needed a backup point guard. You get Evan Nelson. We're going to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
You still need a versatile backup big, right? If Carter Bryant returns, you probably don't need a wing off the bench, because then you have Dwayne Aristote in that role. Carter Bryant, as Trevor Begay here puts in the chat, Carter Bryant is the next domino that needs to fall in this roster building scenario outside of a backup big for Krivas and Awaka. But yeah, very happy to see Tobe Awaka back in an Arizona uniform for next season. As Trevor says here, he was a bully in March. Actually, I don't know if he's talking about Carter or Tobe, but it applies to Tobe Awaka certainly, because his presence last season was essential to Arizona's success at times, and it will continue to be essential to Arizona's success next season. So overall, well done by the coaching staff and whoever was, staying on Tobe to make sure that he re-signed with Arizona.
Yeah, certainly, Kevin. It is a big deal because, I think we hadn't really talked about the prospect of, Tobe Awaka potentially leaving Arizona, right? Because, it felt like with Henry leaving that Tobe was always probably in the cards to come back, and Arizona obviously prioritized making that happen, right? But yeah, it's weird, the terminology of re-signed, as you kind of brought us into that, is pretty odd. And as a college sports fan, and I'm sure everybody in the chat, like it's a weird time. It's a really, really weird time, man. And yeah, you have a guy like Tobe Awaka who, by all accounts, seemed like he was pretty locked in on this program. I listened to his statement that he put out, Kevin, on the Arizona basketball account, and it seems like he loves being here and loves being a part of Arizona basketball and wants to be a part of build this program. But at the same time, it's just so weird to be like, we have to re-recruit every player on the roster year after year, or else they'll walk straight out the door.
Honestly,
and I'm sure
even month after month over the course of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure Tobe Awaka, probably got some people hitting him up on, on the DL, being like, "What's up? How do you feel about playing at, Georgia next year? We got a lot of money to spend." So it's like I feel like it's good that if it makes me feel as though Tommy has the right mentalities in this program, people that are locked in and care more about winning than they do about chasing a bag for the most part. But at the same time, it's just an odd time to be a college sports fan where you're re-signing players. And then, and we were going to get into this a little bit later, but I feel like we might as well just hit it now since we're on the topic. Like, you have Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee as their starting quarterback and has been for, I think, 2 seasons now. He's currently leveraging Tennessee's contract that they signed him to, essentially, and not showing up to spring practice, Kevin, so that he could get a new salary, basically. And it's like he's being paid an exorbitant amount of money. And meanwhile, it's being treated as if, it's CeeDee Lamb skipping out on OTAs for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And trying to leverage it like it's professional sports. It's really, really odd, man. It's really, really odd time. And it's just like, it kind of sucks in a way, as much as we love it, and I'll never stop loving Arizona athletics because it means everything to me. This is my childhood. I'm a Tucson kid. This is my number one team. But at the same time, it's just it's so weird, and we need regulation within the NCAA. there is a happy medium to be found between, investigating players who get bought a free meal, because they're hungry, or like Shabazz Napier talking about how he like someone can't buy him a bag of chips. Remember that whole big thing that happened way back then, and now where a guy getting paid millions of dollars is sitting out of practices because he wants more money and he's leveraging the boosters more. And Desert Fox says it's like, we need contracts in this. You need to have set contracts that lock these players in. Like if you're going to sign it, I don't think it can be like the Wild West where, it's just like, oh, I feel like leaving. It's like, yes, we wanted it to be equal footing with the coaches, right? Because the coaches can have a good March Madness, Kevin, and leave and take the next best opportunity. And the players were stuck there at their old school, right? But the difference is that a lot of times these smaller schools are getting paid buyouts from the bigger schools that are coming along and signing these coaches. And nowadays, like Arizona gains nothing to benefit with KJ Lewis and Henry Vasar walking out the door. And it kind of sucks when you develop a player like Henry Vasar who was not good when he stepped on campus and is now going to frickin' North Carolina to be the starting center.
Yeah, you and I touched on it in relation to the Adia Barnes conversation yesterday, but Adia Barnes was correct, and she's not the only one to have said this. But in the current landscape of college athletics, if you are not one of the big money spenders, kind of somewhat like the pros, you are a development program for the bigger programs.
Yeah.
If you don't have a one-and-done player, if they can go get a big bag elsewhere, they're going to do that. And yeah, it is a weird transitional time between the old style of college sports and the new style of college sports. And hopefully some regulations are coming down the pipe, but that is yet to be seen. And right now it is kind of like the Wild West, Damon. But I'm happy to see that the Wild West has not claimed our guy Tobe Awaka, and that, he is staying sane and not wild, and he is staying in Tucson.
Yep.
And I'm also happy to see via the transfer portal, which is all part of this NIL stuff, that Arizona was able to go find a hometown kid in Evan Nelson. Damon Dog. And I think that Evan Nelson, who is a transfer player, 6'2", 170-pound guard from Harvard, but originally comes to us from Tucson, Arizona, who attended Sal Point Catholic High. He also
heard of it?
He also spent 1 year at Mountain View.
Lancers for frickin' life, man. That's what we do.
Did you go to high school with anybody from the NFL, Damon?
I think his name is Bijan Robinson. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's like a top 5-ish running back in the NFL. No big deal.
You never brought that up before. I didn't know that about you.
No, it's kind of, I keep it pretty underground. But
yeah. But Evan Nelson, he did miss the entire, because he is a senior this past season, he did miss the entire 2023-24 season due to a torn left Achilles. Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind when talking about all this. But he did spend last year healthy and was quite productive for Harvard. He had the 4th most steals per game in the Ivy League, the 12th most assists per game in the Ivy League. And he also led his team in 3-point percent and assists per game. And he was second on his team in steals per game and free throw percent. He's an incredibly efficient player.
Yeah.
I think Evan Nelson, one of the most important things that stood out to me when I was watching his highlights this morning was 3 things. 1, he can shoot the 3. He has a pretty jump shot. He has like a little bit of a hitch to it when he's wide open. Like he almost like resets his feet. So he's like fully set every time he's wide open, which I think is kind of a weird little idiosyncrasy of his. But regardless, pretty jumper, effective jumper. He shoots 47% from left above the break threes, which is 18% of his total shot diet. 34% on right side above the break threes, 16% of his total shot diet. He can also make the off-balance threes, so it's not just the set shots off of passes. He can create his own three-point shots sometimes.
Yeah.
He's not too proficient off the dribble and things like that. I think some of his drives, because he does do a lot of shooting from the paint at the rim. When watching his highlights, and maybe you feel differently, maybe the chat feels differently, let me know, chat. I don't think that all of his drives are going to be there in the Big 12. When you watch some of his highlights, some of these drives are just, there's not a lot of physical toughness of making him think twice about going into the paint. And I think in the Big 12, that's going to be a little different. But I don't think he's going to be expected to have the lion's share of the drives. I'm just saying that if you look at his stats and the way he plays, it's a lot of driving downhill and things like that. And I just don't think that's going to be necessarily his same play style in the Big 12. Where he will shine in the Big 12, like I said, his 3-point shot and his defense. He's a 3-and-D guard. He has, like I said, 4th most steals in the Ivy League last season. He averages well above a steal a game. very, very solid overall player. One thing you do worry about, like I said, is his ability to drive to the hoop and the fact that he's only 6'2", 170. So we'll see how that plays out in the
Yeah.
Big 12. I don't think it should be that big of a problem because, again, I don't think he's going to be tasked with truly running the offense for the majority of any, period of time. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But I do think that Evan Nelson is a quite solid backup point guard to bring into the program. Exactly kind of what Tommy Lloyd was looking for in some ways.
You said that he's listed at 6'2", 170, correct?
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that Conrad Martinez is listed at 6 foot 165?
I feel like I'm definitely looking for small stuff here. No pun intended there. But I think 2 inches in this case matters a lot.
Conrad Martinez is not 6 feet tall, is my point. That's I feel like they juice those numbers up quite a bit, whereas Evan Nelson is a very he's actually around that size. And whether or not, sometimes they cook up the numbers a little bit. He might be 6'1", he might be I would assume he's somewhere around that weight, but I find that extremely hard to believe that Conrad is 6 feet tall. But I think my point being there is that you added some size to your backup point guard spot. And I know that's not this position that you are quintessential, you need size at, right? But I think that it plays when you're in the Big 12 and you're playing such athletic guards all the time. Getting a guy who can match up that size and strength aspect, I think is incredibly important to this team. And on top of that, you're talking about his 3-point diet and kind of how many his percentage of shots that he's taking from beyond the arc, Kevin. Arizona needs that from their guards, right? Because especially their backups, because we know we're not getting that from Jaden Bradley. That's not his game. He hit some big threes in the tournament, I think, and hopefully that continues where Jaden Bradley in the tournament kind of is able to bring it up a notch and kind of provide a little bit more perimeter shooting. But throughout the course of the regular season, we've seen for 2 years now that Jaden Bradley is just not going to be shooting 3-pointers at a high rate, and then when he does, not at an efficient rate. So getting a backup point guard in who likes to shoot 3-pointers, Kevin, I think is extremely important for this roster in spelling Jaden Bradley and just kind of having that contrasting profile, right?
No, I totally agree. Eric Brotherton also adds here in the chat that he expects Bradley to really benefit from the addition of Evan Nelson from game to game and throughout the season.
It's a great point.
Just with getting a little bit of extra breathers. We saw a lot of times at points this year where Jaden Bradley, even if it was a team that necessarily, or maybe not necessarily, he should be playing every minute against, he was kind of forced into playing almost every minute against a lot of these teams that next season, ideally, he'll be able to take a couple minutes of breathing time to reset and get back out there and play, because Jaden Bradley plays hard. So that is not an energy efficient style of play, I'll say. You can probably get tired very fast playing the way Jaden Bradley and Tommy Lloyd want to play. So I do think that Evan Nelson will be very beneficial to overall, like you alluded to, Damon, the versatility that you can have with your guards and the threat on both sides of the ball. But also from a literal stamina perspective, you and I have talked about Arizona at times running out of gas this past season. We didn't really know, hey, are they fatigued or what happened down the stretch there? That this should help with that, at least from the guard perspective, for sure.
Yeah, Jaden Bradley averaged 34.1 minutes per game last year out of the available 40. So he's playing, over 80% of the minutes there, Kevin. And I think that's it definitely provides just an extra layer that Arizona can go to, right? If Jaden Bradley has some foul trouble, you can throw Evan Nelson in there and hopefully he can kind of run the offense at an efficient rate, right? And so, yeah, why don't we go ahead and bring up Evan Nelson's stats here and talk about just kind of the season he had for Harvard last season. Last season for Harvard, 9.1 points per game, 3 assists per game, 2.9 rebounds, 1.4 steals, which you noted, Kevin, was good for 4th in the Ivy League conference. And the assist number, while we were talking about it a little bit off air, college assist numbers are a little bit wonky because you expect them to maybe be a little bit higher, but
they're just all skewed so far
yeah,
down.
they're all kind of down. Jaden Bradley, for example, I'd consider him a good passer. He's a 3.7 assists per game type of guy. That's kind of in a similar range, right? So he was 12th in assists, as you already mentioned as well. And yeah, I think that this is the exact type of player that you needed for this role. I just wanted someone with experience that I felt more comfortable than Conrad Martinez to spell Jaden Bradley and kind of maybe even just be a little bit more of a scoring threat. you could even run some probably two point guard lineups as well between the two of them. And if you need a 3 or you need a comeback late in games, you can throw them in there and get that extra shooting option in the game. Like I love this move. And on top of it, like with just from that's all, play style related and who Evan Nelson, the player, is, but Evan Nelson, the person, like this is a kid that grew up his whole life dreaming of playing for this program. And it means more, like genuinely. I don't think that that's I don't think that that's an exaggeration. I think a kid from Tucson, like it matters more to them to put on, the red and blue and represent this university because it's what they dreamed about from the moment that they were little. And yeah, it's cool to see that finally play out, right? I think of like the example of like, and this is somewhat of an extreme example, but Jack Sawyer at Ohio State from Columbus, Ohio, like Ohio State football was everything to him. It's the same thing in Tucson with Arizona basketball. And Evan Nelson is, he gets to fulfill that dream. And, I don't think that we're ever going to be sitting here saying to ourselves like, oh, he didn't give 100% effort, right? Because this means everything.
Yeah, Damon, and you allude to, the Evan Nelson, the person, and how this is also right up the alley with the kind of player that Tommy Lloyd wants to bring in. This is a guy who was a 2-time captain during his time at Harvard. This is a guy who is a leader amongst incredibly smart people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that when you look at, for better or worse, right, the addition of Trey Townsend, I think was coming from the right place, like the right idea. It didn't pan out. But when you look at the person that Trey Townsend is, his attitude was never a problem. His effort was never a problem. It was respectfully, it was a skill issue, right? But like you'd rather a skill issue than have to have Tommy Lloyd managing egos and managing drama. Tommy Lloyd has enough X's and O's to worry about as it is. You don't need to be worrying about whether your team likes each other or whether they're going to show up to practice on time or whether they're going to be mature about certain situations. And Evan Nelson is not going to have any question marks in any of those areas. This is a mature guy who's been a captain of an Ivy League school for 2 seasons now, Damon. So I expect good things from Evan Nelson this next season. And I expect him to fit right in to what Tommy Lloyd wants to build, not only on the court, but off the court as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. I have breaking news right now. Becky Burke has landed in Tucson and is Desiree put on her Twitter account that Becky, Savannah, and Banks are now in Tucson. And as we prepare for the women's basketball introductory press conference for Becky Burke later in the day. And of course, we're going to talk to Erika Day later in this show, in this program, to kind of get the thoughts on Arizona women's basketball, the direction it's taking, a recent commit that we're going to get into as well, Kevin. So yeah, we'll hit that later in the show. But getting back to just kind of what's going on in the men's basketball side of things, where do you think that this leaves Tommy Lloyd's program right now, Kevin? Like, what do you think the need of the roster is at the moment?
I alluded to it earlier. I believe that the current need that you have left is a backup big that can be a little bit more versatile from a movement perspective, from an offensive perspective. I think you just need that mix in your front court because right now you have an incredibly physical, great rebounder, tenacious guy in Tobe Awaka, but you really don't have a mobile big that can kind of get out on the perimeter if they need to and, do the things that really, truly Henry Vasar was going to be responsible for doing. You kind of need, and I know it was just the last episode, but go back and rewatch some of the episodes of McHale Madness this past season because they were spitting some good game, our guys Saul and Corey. But one thing that, Saul alluded to was that Emmanuel Stephen might have messed up by transferring when he did, considering Henry Vasar leaves, and then he could have stepped up into that role of being the third big off, like the third big coming off the bench that is needed to give a little bit of more of a mix to things, so to speak, Damon. But I would say that is the main necessity right now is getting a backup big that can give you more versatility, more options when you need a different lineup, a different look against some of these Big 12 schools. Yeah.
I think that's certainly a good idea. And obviously, I think priority number one is Carter Bryant, right? Like we still got to, make that the main focus, I would say, if we had to pick one. I think that everyone knows that though. And I'll be honest, like it feels like by the day, right? Like, are you not growing confidence? Because I certainly am. Like by the day, every day that Carter Bryant doesn't, put his name into the draft, process, I think to myself, is he going to come back to Arizona next season? Like, is that his plan? And right now, like I kind of feel like that is his plan. And something really interesting came across my timeline the other day, Kevin, regarding Carter Bryant and his usage, right? Because we talked about his usage rate all season long. Like, was he going to get that uptick in usage, right? Because it started off as, he's a catch and shoot guy. He's not dribbling very much. He's not putting the ball on the floor. And, he's more of a role player in that regard. Everyone sees the potential with Carter Bryant. There's no question about that. He has an NBA body as an 18-year-old freshman. But he finished the season last year, and this is via On Ball Creator on Twitter, and it's a good follow from him and a good point by him. He says he thinks that Carter Bryant is getting a bit overhyped, Kevin, in NBA draft circles. And he said that he finished the season with a usage rate of just 16.4%. So that means that Carter Bryant is he was I think usage rate is, I don't think it's made shots. I think it's shots taken that he's passing or taking the shots that are being taken by the offense. It could be made shots, but
it's the percentage of a team's possessions that a player uses while on the floor, calculated by dividing a player's field goal percent, half their free throw attempts, turnovers by total team possessions, and then multiplying that. So it's pretty much how active are you per 100 possessions almost.
Yes, and his that percentage is extremely low. And you look at he dropped a list of players that are somewhat in that similar range to him, and it's a bunch of guys that probably needed another year in college, to be frank. I think like at the top of this list, Ryan Dunn, Suns legend, obviously. You have Dalen Terry on this list, which I think you could make the argument could have used another year with Tommy Lloyd, given how things have played out. You have guys like sorry, this is not good podcasting, but Tumani Kamara, another option like that. I mean, he was a senior, but it's a bunch of wings that you feel like they probably could have come back for an extra season and use that extra year of development. And I think that we've talked about with Carter Bryant, like he seems like a guy who values that, right? He seems like a guy who values that development over just getting a bunch of playing time and that being his necessarily his priority or making a bunch of money in the league or whatnot. So Carter Bryant, I think, is the priority. But on top of that, Kevin, I 100% agree with you. That third developmental big, I think, is extremely important to this current roster now. We've seen it a couple times a year where Tumani is literally Scottie Pippen, Icy Mike says. He's a really good player. That's obviously, tongue in cheek, but he is a very, very good player. But yeah, I think, you do need that third guy in case Krivas and Awaka find themselves in foul trouble, a guy to throw in that hopefully can build around a little bit, with Awaka's last year being next year, and then he can come back for his sophomore season as well. So yeah, I think that's where the attention needs to be going to, Kevin, moving forward in this portal process. Is let's get ourselves a young, athletic big man that can rim run a little bit, maybe that has some good chops from a block perspective, or at least a frame that an athleticism profile that you would think could grow into being a big rim presence, right? So I'm with you on the same page here. We're about to get Erika Day on and ready to go and talk some women's hoops here, and just kind of more about the Becky Burke hire and what how we're feeling about it from one of the experts on the matter, Kevin. But we're going to do that right after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Well, Damon, I have brand new breaking news for you today. And it is that I have officially become an inner circle member, because I, like so many of you in the
premium
chat,
member,
should have downloaded the Circle K app and I have achieved, I got my 25 cents off per gallon on my first 5 fill-ups, like you all will when you download the Circle K app and sign up for the Inner Circle Rewards program. And then I moved on after my first 5. I have got to the 3 cents off per gallon. And then after I went on Circle K Fuel Day the other day, would you get 40% off, or 40 cents off, I should say, if you are an Inner Circle member, I got my promotion into the 5 cents off per gallon club, Damon, which is what you can do as well when you download the Circle K app and join the Inner Circle program today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And I'll tell you what else you can do at Circle K, Damon. They have a $3 meal deal where you can get a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a tornado with a Polar Pop for just $3. So Circle K has all your snacks, energy drinks, chargers, all that kind of stuff, in addition to gas. It is truly America's do-it-all thirst stop.
It certainly is, Kevin. I filled up at Circle K. My gas tank was on E the other day.
Yikes.
And I was like, am I near Circle K? And then I just pulled off on the nearest exit. And what did I see? Circle K right there on the corner. Because this is Arizona, Kevin. Excuse me.
They are everywhere. You cannot throw a stone without landing it next to a Circle K.
It is a staple of Arizona, Circle K, and another staple of Arizona is our friends over at Branded Bills. Everywhere I go these days, Kevin, all I see is Branded Bills hats everywhere because people love Branded Bills, and that they should, right? Because it's the most comfortable headwear and apparel that you will find anywhere in the business, and it is premium stuff as well. They got like dry fit material on the hats, Kevin. I know you love it. I love it. I was wearing my Branded Bills hat yesterday. If you go check that yesterday's show out, drop a like on that video, by the way. But they have their college, their college teams as well from all over the country. Of course, we only care about their campus collection that, supports the Arizona Wildcats. And the bookstore down in Tucson has a special Branded Bills campus collection section. It is exclusive. We've never seen them anywhere else. We went to the facility and we didn't see them there. I've checked online, not online. The bookstore has some of the coolest Branded Bills hats and just hats anywhere in general that you will find out there representing the Arizona Wildcats. It's a local company from Mesa. They love the Arizona Wildcats, and they will continue to support our programs and this show as well. They support us, and we're going to support you guys by throwing a promo code at you, PHNX, for 20% off that first order. That's going to save you 20% off the first order. Head to brandedbills.com. Use promo code PHNX for 20% off. Kid Low says, my guy Evan played with him in club a little bit. Awesome person, really good teammate. Yeah, I haven't heard a single person say anything, say a negative word about Evan Nelson. I think from an attitude standpoint, you got to be hyped up about this move. Shout out everybody here in the chat. We, of course, have June in here, as always. Angry Grim, Icy Mike, one of the staples of this chat as well. We got Eric, as I already mentioned, Desert Fox, Tom, Trevor, Kobe, Andy, even BC. We'll even shout you out, brother, even though you're a dirty, dirty scum devil. But thank you.
And a Dodgers fan.
Yeah,
gross.
Well, I mean, that I didn't even want to go there. But yes, shout out everybody for being here. Like this video. Nick Arenas, of course, as well, staple. Like this video if you guys haven't done so already. It really helps us out. And Kevin, do you think that I'll full disclosure, a little peek behind the curtain here. My alarm didn't go off this morning. Do you think that had something to do with the lack of likes yesterday?
I think it might have.
It's starting to that just registered in my head.
In the universe, it was
right
out there.
Now.
Yeah.
Like we always talk about, like it's like a lack of sleep thing. Kevin, obviously you woke up pretty early as well. We had a conversation about that.
I was shaking awake.
I definitely think that was a like thing as well. But yeah, for me, man, I'm starting to think that the universe is like not enough likes on yesterday's show, Damon. We're not even going to help you get up in the morning.
I think we've misdiagnosed it. It's not that if we don't get enough likes, we won't get, enough sleep. It's that if we don't get enough likes, it'll mess with our sleep.
Yeah.
So we might oversleep, and hell, we might even miss the show if you don't like this video enough. We might oversleep the show. But we also might only get 1 hour of sleep. So you never know. And that's why you got to like this video. And for just one like a day, you in the chat can help me and Damon sleep at night.
My favorite emoji, by the way. But you're going to want to like this video now because we are bringing on, of course, Erika Day, who has lit the Twitter world on fire recently and had the opportunity to speak about it. So we're going to bring Erika on. We're going to give her the floor, and we're going to talk some women's hoops. Obviously, Kevin and I, we talked women's hoops all day yesterday. Basically, it was the entire show. But we're going to clear out on this one. ISO, and give Erika Day the rock. So, Erika, how are we doing this morning?
super excited. I'll be honest. I have been locked in with this team for a really, really long time. And to say that the results the last couple of seasons have left a little to be desired for me is an understatement. I talked about on the space last week how, like, one of my worst memories as a Wildcat fan is watching them lose to UNC in the tournament at home as a 4 seed to UNC, who was a 5 seed. Pain, suffering. Just, it's been what my life has been. And so, I want to start by saying I think that there are some Wildcat fans that maybe don't know about the use of hyperbole in Twitter and just in general, you know. And so I want to clear my name just a little bit because, first of all, I probably should not have used such definitives with clearly nobody wants to come here. But that said, clearly the lead person that we all thought was going to be a lock, a shoe-in for the job, was seemingly publicly uninterested. And so, from the looks and the outside looking in, obviously, I'm not an insider. I don't talk to Desiree every single day. That said, from the outside, it sure seemed that a whole lot of not many people wanted to come to the University of Arizona. And I know that their search was very narrow about only wanting to interview head coaches. And I do think that there is some value to that. But I think it's like negating an entire group of people that probably, have just as good of a chance at success in this position as a great MAC coach. And so this is not me or shading Becky Burke because truthfully, I think Becky Burke seemingly is a great hire. There isn't a whole lot of way to know that she's going to be successful in a Power Four conference. So sitting here talking about how suddenly, oh, Erika's tweet about GCU having the best women's coach in the state is a blatant lie is crazy because considering the fact that Gandy had success not only at South Carolina, but in national championships for South Carolina. And when you have Dawn Staley giving you your flowers publicly in the press conference after the game, that, I mean, I don't need to defend this man's character any longer. It is no longer within my pay grade to be defending Winston Gandy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just a girl who talks on YouTube. So, when Dawn Staley is backing the guy, I have no need to be able to sit here and stand up for the man. I don't need to do that. So, all that said, I just wanted to defend myself a little bit because, again, I understand the, nobody, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is that until Becky Burke is successful on the Power Four level, in some way, she isn't really this big name. And I'm not going to sit here and call her a nobody. That is again above my pay grade. But let's be serious here. When the Mississippi State coach is saying no to this position again publicly,
Missouri State.
that doesn't. Right. Did I say Mississippi State?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Missouri State. I'm so sorry. Yeah, when you have MVC coaches publicly saying no, and literally, I had to look. I just had to make sure. I'm like MVC coach, like for real. Yes, and so I think that seriously, I don't need to defend myself. I've been around this team for half a decade. I've watched Adia's entire tenure here, and I was just as ready for the program to move on from Adia as everyone else. And you can go back in my tweets and find that exact information anywhere you look. So, yeah, I just think that the way that this all has happened and transpired hasn't been my favorite thing to ever occur, but at the same time, like, to sit here and be like, "Oh, it's a bad hire," or "It's a fantastic home run hire," is kind of ignorant to the fact that we really still don't know. No one's even met her yet. She just landed. I'm super excited to go talk with her later today. I know I'm super excited to be able to have a chance to talk with Desiree. Like, Desiree doesn't take questions from the media very often, so I think today is going to be a really exciting day around the university. The reality is that Adia did take this program to new heights. And so fans have expectations,
Yep.
and those expectations are exciting. And so if she's not excited about those expectations, then I think that that's a clear sign that this is like a filler hire. But if she's excited about the fan base and she's excited about the expectations that she has, because frankly, people are going to ask her today about how you can build a contending roster, frankly. And so when people ask her that, if she presents the utmost excitement, it's going to be difficult here. Like, you aren't going to have the best NIL. I have a tweet that's coming later today that is a very hee hee ha ha funny joke. Like, we have one house, one Porsche, and two whole teammates. Who wants to come? And so it's not going to be a super easy sell off rip. But that said, like, I don't think it's going to be an impossible sell. Like, you have players today like London Jones from UCLA and Malaysia Wiley from the University of South Carolina entering the portal. Anything is possible in the portal, anything. And so, it, I saw a comment yesterday. All it takes is one rich booster to decide, oh shit, like, these guys, they deserve some more money. Like, one rich booster. And so, if one person is excited about this hire, and I mean one person worth, some money, then
Millions.
then you because I can throw my check, but that ain't really saying too much, you know what I mean? So I don't know who I don't think we'll get Malaysia Wiley off that check, you know what I mean? So but I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I think the reality is that there is no reason to not be optimistic. Becky Burke has improved every single year. I'm not saying we're going to go out and win a Big 12 championship this year. In fact, if you go back to this same time last year, I said that Arizona wouldn't win a Big 12 championship this year. And look who proved to be absolutely correct. They are not going to be competing for a title this year. And so everyone just needs to get their expectations back onto the ground with the rest of us. And I think that we can all have a lot of fun and have a lot to be excited about moving forward. I don't want to jump any gun, but I do think there is a really good chance that she can keep Lauren Swan in house. And if she can keep Lauren Swan in house, get a decent big in the portal, I mean, what could go wrong?
Yeah, I'm with you completely, Erika. And I do want to speak to just the beginning portion of when you came on here. Like, your references to Gandy, like, he seems like a star in the making. And I don't think that
Exactly.
that's not disrespectful to Arizona to say that he looks like a guy who is going to use this GCU job similarly to how Molly Miller used the GCU job to catapult himself into a Power 5 job somewhere in this women's college basketball landscape. And on top of that, to further what you were saying, like, no one loves this basketball program, this women's basketball program in particular, more than Erika. And to act like she is like being negative on purpose because she's caping for Adia is an absolutely insane take, especially when Erika first started getting notoriety for fighting with Adia. So it's like I find all of the stuff surrounding what's going on with your social presence baffling right now, and it's so opposite of the truth of how you actually feel about things. And as you like, two things can be true at once. Adia did not receive the support that she became used to receiving, and became in the program in the the kind of uptick of the program that was kind of becoming a natural process at Arizona Athletics. And Becky Burke can be a fun, exciting hire that Arizona, with a not the biggest bag in the world, was able to go out and get a coach that's exciting, fun, young, has a lot of energy, and is going to hopefully take this program to back to the level that Adia had it in at one point in her tenure. So I just I don't want to make this an Erika Day glaze fest, but like, it's
Okay, but we could do
I feel
that.
like if it
But one quick point here, and like I was talking about this with Kobe this morning, the money thing goes further than just NIL, rev share, any of that, right? Think about it this way: when Jada Williams and Brea Cunningham, Skylar Jones, when that class came on their visit to the University of Arizona, they were chartering to Northern California and Seattle, and they were chartering to Colorado. The team flew commercial to Central Florida this year. Commercial. When we're talking about resources, like, it doesn't just end with Jada's Porsche. Like, it ends with the like experience as a student athlete being lesser than it was. Like you said, Adia got accustomed to a certain level of spending with Mr. Hiki, and when that level left, like so did the level of players that came with that level of, you know. So yeah, it's just a mess. Thank you.
Erika, you kind of you spoke to the resources and all the sharing of that. We had someone in the chat asking earlier about women's basketball fans maybe feeling I'll just say feeling some type of way about the way that revenue is getting dispersed around campus. Damon spoke yesterday to the idea of, hey, Tommy Lloyd, his season wrapped up and they pretty much got the contract done right then and there. And that was actually approved by the Board of Regents as well recently. So that is official, locked in. Tommy Lloyd, barring something crazy until 2029, 2030. So I have also seen the rumors online, not the rumors, but the mumblings online of some women's basketball fans saying, "Hey, that got done. You're gonna have to extend Chip Hale and get the softball situation sorted out with Caitlin Lowe as well. What about us? Our season just ended. Tommy Lloyd got sorted. What about us? So are you feeling that way in any way? And what can you say to those fans that kind of feel like there's an unfair distribution of resources right now within the athletic department?"
I definitely understand why women's basketball fans feel a little bit. I It's not the correct word, but I'm gonna have to say betrayed by this AD a little bit. I understand why they feel that way. That said, I think if I have one message to them, it's that I think the program will be in a much better spot in 5 years because of this move. And I've been talking all season. Like, if you go back to podcasts at the same time last year on AZ Wildcats podcast, I was talking about how there is no possibility in way that Adia is going to take a massive pay cut. There is just no way that's going to happen. She's again grown accustomed to this fat paycheck, fat house. Her and Salvo were living large here in Tucson. And so, she wasn't going to stop doing that. She was simply going to find someone else to fund her lifestyle. And so it's a good thing for us that we are not the ones doing that anymore. I think that this gives a new coach some room for. I think it gives her a ceiling to be able to look to reach. And I think that that's something that Arizona didn't have a great sense of before Adia Barnes. So while I understand why they do feel a little shorted by the athletic department right now, I think that in the end, the student athlete experience will get better. I think there will be more money to go around in the end because you're not paying your coach an egregious amount of money. And whether you agree or not, if Adia can't get the team to the freaking tournament, she's not worth $1.2 million. And so,
Yeah.
I've argued with other women's reporters about this exact thing about how she should have gotten the extension. Like, sure, she should have gotten an extension, but the extension that she was looking for would be, I think it would leave way more people scratching their head if she gets a $1.3 million extension than it does if we, completely separate the program from her and move on. I think it gives the program time, you know, to adjust to this new revenue sharing with a new leadership. And I think that it's the perfect time. I don't think it could have, if they let her stay another year, you're just delaying the inevitable one longer season. She can't recruit. And then at the end, when Becky comes in or whoever the hire would have been next year, then Lauren Swan's not even around to, see, oh, maybe we can make something work with this kid. So I think it's for the best for right now. And I see Kobe talking about an extension for less. I just don't foresee that happening here. I don't doubt for a single minute that SMU is not paying her the same amount that Arizona was paying her. I think she did definitely take a pay cut to go to SMU. But that said, it's a W for her because it's a private school, so no one ever has to know that it's a pay cut. And when she's up for renegotiation or she can go somewhere else, she can just say, "Oh yeah, well I've been making all this money here at SMU. I made this money in Arizona. Blah blah blah. You have to pay me or I'm not coming." Like it Adia by far. The fans of Adia need to calm down because there's no one that won in this situation more than Adia Barnes. She is making great
Yeah.
money, she has great resources, and she is at a great university that is going to invest in her. So why everyone is so up in arms that it's what she wanted. So yeah, I hope the Adia Barnes fans frankly are able to start moving on today at 4 p.m. because I think that the fan base would benefit greatly from buying in just a little bit. They don't have to give it the full support that they gave Adia, go to the radio shows and this, that, and the other. But I think that it will play out far more negatively if they don't buy in than it will positively if they just give her just a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you spoke to how this is a fresh start, by getting rid of Adia Barnes and bringing in Becky the Builder, Becky Burke. Can she fix it?
TM
Yeah,
trademark.
trademark. Can she fix it? Yes, she can. But that all started today when Becky Burke secured her first transfer to the University of Arizona, and that is former Buffalo Nolani Cornfield, sick name, starting off hot right there. Senior guard with 500 career assists, 3 games with 10 plus assists this past season, 10 games with 5 plus rebounds this past season as well.
An underrated aspect, Kevin, she gets to move the hell out of Buffalo to come to Tucson, so the weather's good.
That should be pitch number 1 to all of Becky Burke's former players. She's like, hey, I just landed. Here's a photo. See this?
It's beautiful.
It's not cold. Come join me.
It is so hot today, though. Like, it is legitimately 100 degrees outside.
Let's keep that under wraps. Let them
And
get
it
here
is
first and let them
April.
find out on their
It
own.
is so hot. I'm like, can you guys, like, can we do the presser, like, at the pool or something? Like, it is very hot, you know?
No, definitely. But Erika, I want to ask you, what are obviously Nolani Cornfield's a very fine player, is going to add a lot to, is going to be a great building block for this offense, right? If you have someone who can facilitate the ball, play good defense, rebound the ball as well, I think that's huge for Becky Burke and next year's Arizona Wildcats. But with the press conference coming up today at 4, I wanted to ask you, what do you expect from Becky Burke today? And what do you expect from her attacking the transfer portal going forward?
Well, I frankly expect all of her Buffalo players that are available to come with her, if for no other reason than to just kind of continue her culture
Yep.
and keep some consistency. And I was actually just laughing to myself as I was getting ready for the show because I'm like, Adia's been here 9 years and she still uses the kids don't know the system excuse when she was here, a month ago. And so I will be so grateful to move on from any other, like to any new excuse. So if we can get those 4 players from Buffalo and they can teach everybody else the system, plus Lauren Swan, and I really do I think a dominant big is so important to have in the Big 12. And we saw how important it was when Brea was off the floor last season. And I mean, we see how much it works out for teams like Iowa State, as much as it makes me roll over in my grave. TCU with Sedona Prince, there
Gross.
are. I know, sick work, Erica, bringing that up. But like these teams with dominant bigs, Aaronette Von Lay, like they're able to make shakes in the tournament and make it really tough to beat them. And
Yeah.
I think that, and with Brea being off the floor so much last season, it was really easy to beat Arizona. And so I think that if she can just get a consistent big who is disciplined, and personally, from what I've seen with Becky Burke, she's a developer and a do more with less type of coach. And so if I won't be super shocked if this isn't a super awesome recruiting class that makes us kind of like, who cares? But like in the end, I won't be shocked if they are a decent Big 12 team and end up having a tournament berth this year because she is such a do less with more type of coach. And she seems very ambitious from everything I've watched her, speak and whatnot. And so I think that it will be a big motivator for her that this team does have some legacy built into it, and she does want to fulfill the fan base that wants to go back to a tournament and wants to go back to a national championship. I think a lot of our fans, while unfortunately don't understand the logistics of the finance part, because that's the hard truth of Arizona women's basketball fan, they do not understand the finance behind the business of it all. And so if they can be a contending team within the Big 12, I think that is a W within itself. And getting to the tournament means that you were contending in the Big 12. And so if they're, going to be within 2 to 3 seasons, you know, getting better recruiting classes. And frankly, I will be curious over the next couple of seasons with women's basketball in general, how much freshman recruiting just stops. Because Like, I really think that's what Adia did wrong is she, stuck with the developmental, like, oh, we're gonna take the young kids out of high school and then we're gonna try to get you better. And like the reality is that kids don't like losing. And so, when you're losing with young kids, they are going to go elsewhere. So I'll be interested to see these Power Four programs and how much they really stick to like these top recruiting classes and how much they really mean in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see how this recruiting cycle kind of plays out with Becky Burke because the cupboard is so bare, right? So you can make the argument that that's a bad thing because you don't have much to work off of, but also you can make the argument that it's a clean slate and that she can really, get the players that she feels are the best fits for her program with so many players in the portal. And I think it's smart to kind of temper expectations for year one, right? Because she's still instilling that culture and these are all going to be new players. But, I do think that like there's certain things that we can watch for throughout the season that show progress, that show a culture being built. Yeah, I certainly expect that to be the case. Erika, so you're going to be at the press conference later today. And obviously be talking to Burke. Is there anything in particular that you would like to hear her speak to that would kind of fill you with confidence about the direction of the program?
I laughed with you guys earlier before I came on the show about how like I would love to be able to ask her what her plan to construct a roster is going to be, but she's literally going to say, "Oh, I'm going to attack the portal." And so I want to leave the press conference confident in the type of player that Becky Burke looks for in the portal. And what can she do with her type of player, I think is very important. And so if she can get her types of players in here and be semi-successful in year one, I think we are in very good looks. And if that type of player though is very important. We've seen you guys, I heard you guys talking about it yesterday. We've seen some really ugly basketball in McHale. And
Yeah.
so I really think Becky is a more offensive minded coach. That said, it does give me hope that the first transfer to commit here was on the all defensive team. Like you're not going to win in the Big 12 in particular without at least a little bit of a defensive mindset. So I think, I am really excited, especially after that first commitment. I think my expectations like went up a little bit actually. So I'm just looking to know what her philosophy is and what type of player she wants to bring to the University of Arizona.
Yeah, and real quick, I want to say this. If you're watching with our streaming partners over on a television anywhere in the world in Phoenix, please come over to gophnx.com. The party continues over there. And we have a very special overtime today because we do have Erika Day here. So once we're going to get Erika back in here in a second here, Damon Dog. But we do have overtime with Erika Day. And it is going to be here momentarily.
Kevin loves taking Erika off the screen.
Thank you. That's literally what I was going
Look.
to say is Kevin wants to mute me all the time.
It's sad.
Who brings her back on the screen? All right, I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore. That conversation is done. But I wanted to say, you're going to ask Coach Burke, what kind of players she looks for in the portal. Could I interest you in returning Bradyen Cunningham? Do you think that is on the cards?
Listen, I'm going to be honest. And this is me thinking with my heart and my brain because as Damon pointed out, there's no one that loves this team more than I do. And there's no one that is more excited about the prospect of Bradyen Cunningham returning to the University of Arizona than Erika Day. That said, she is being recruited by USC, Texas, and Baylor. And amongst God knows other schools. I've heard that, LSU's had their tip in the hat. So many schools have reached out to Brea. The bag that she is going to receive to go elsewhere is going to be very great. And literally in January, I said Brea is going to end up with an SEC bag. And I really hope it's Texas, truthfully, just because I think that they will let her play, as opposed to the Big Ten and these other, and even the Big 12. Like, I get so tired of watching dominant post players get told they cannot play basketball in the Big 12. It is so exhausting. So I just hope she can go somewhere she can play. I don't think it's going to be the University of Arizona. Yeah, like Eric Brotherton said, we got a Porsche NIL deal with her name on it if she does decide.
Damn
But
right.
I just don't know that I have my expectations super high for that.
Obviously, the purse that in which Arizona women's basketball is going to be playing with this offseason is going to be smaller than it has been in more recent previous years. But they're also, as we talked about with the cupboard being bare, like there should be some money to play with, and you could potentially get a high profile player or two. So is there anybody, you mentioned a couple names earlier, but is there anybody that you would have your eye on that you think could be a
Listen,
good option?
there is not a single basketball player in college that I enjoy watching more than Malaysia Fulwiley. She's quick. She is. I hate that this word has been like thrown around the Wildcat community so much over this last year, but she is so damn gritty. Okay. And she just gets what she wants. No one can tell her no out there. And it's just, she plays, you guys talk about ugly basketball. She just plays, and you're like watching, and you're like, man, she is disgusting out there. She just gets, like I said, she gets to her spots. She gets what she wants. I won't say she plays, super awesome defense, which probably isn't, why a D10 recruiter to the University of Arizona in the first place. But she reminds me of Kalia Copper, who plays for the Phoenix Mercury, and she's kind of the same type of player, slasher, gets to the rim, gets exactly what she wants. And Malaysia is a pipe dream, but when I saw that she entered the portal this morning, I really did screech. Like, I was like,
I could see it. I bet.
and then also we have London Jones at UCLA. And listen, this one pains me because here I am looking like a fool on the AZ Wildcats podcast talking about, can we bring a Bruin? But that said, London Jones, I've been watching her terrorize my team for a long time. I want to say she just finished her junior year at UCLA. So Corey Close has had one of those young teams that's just been waiting to burst at the seams. And this year they bursted to the Elite Eight, get bounced by UConn in an unfortunate series of events at Final Four, and bounced by UConn in an unseries of unfortunate events where their post player just didn't show up. But London Jones is a hooper, okay? And she is a facilitator, and not in a facilitator like Jada Williams, where she's still at the end of the day hunting her shot. London Jones wants to get her teammates open, and that is a asset that I think it gets lost sometimes in basketball, and I really enjoy watching her. Hell, if we could get both of them, this team would be so damn good. Like, then we would be on it. I would be on here talking about, okay, are we national championship contenders? Talking about London Jones and Malaysia Full Wiley, literally getting me like sweaty. Like, oh my goodness, like inject that into my veins, but I can't get too hot and bothered about it. Whew.
From being where you were mere days ago in the depths of despair to now you're daydreaming yet again, and the sun has risen with Erika Day. So I'm happy to hear you're in better spirits, Erika.
Me too.
You guys saw me at like really the worst time in my life, so I'm glad to be out of it. I'm glad to have made it out the other side. It's been a rough week, but at the end of the day, I have a job to do, and you guys need someone to tell you guys what's going on with Arizona women's basketball. And just because it's
Goddamn
the
right.
off season doesn't mean that these guys can get rid of me. So yeah, I'm back. I'm better. Yeehaw. I'm super excited for what's to come with Arizona women's basketball. Hell, I'm excited for what's to come with men's basketball. There's so much like going on right now. It is insane. Not to mention the fact that I hate to self plug here, but PHNX Mercury has a show next week, and the WNBA draft is on Monday. So please hop in. I'm so excited. Literally, I cannot express to you how much I can't wait to have a break from you guys and the Wildcats for just like a little second. You know what I mean? Oh man, I'm
Us?
so
A break from us?
excited.
Never.
You're going to be saying the same thing about our guy Steven Pridgeon Gardner here in a couple months down the line
No.
after the Mercury
You're going to be hearing
season.
a lot of exactly, Erika.
Steven, that poor man, I feel like you guys never knew, how insane I was until we started talking just a little bit, hee-ha-haing. But Steven really had no idea what he was getting into.
No,
Like,
certainly
I
not.
when
don't think
he
Steven had any
started,
idea what he was getting into with anybody in this office.
Yeah,
period.
100%.
End of story.
I just feel like when we hosted that first Mercury show, he was like, "Oh, she's insane. Cool."
I think that's exactly probably what was going through Steven's head, because I've had those moments with Steven as well where I'm like, he thinks I'm a crazy man. And to be honest, Erika,
He definitely does.
yeah, I mean, he's kind of right. We are kind of insane people.
You had a phrase on Twitter yesterday. I, you freak. That's my like new. I'm gonna start calling everyone you freak. Like
Isn't
this is
freak so
2002.
disrespectful?
Yeah, Damon, you and I were
That
talking
is
about that the other
so
day, Damon.
good.
That like if you're gonna that's one of the nastiest things you can say to someone with it, like obviously like within reason, like you can say
Yeah.
disgusting things, but like within reason, like just being like you freak.
With the pointing emoji, of
Yeah,
course.
like, that's horrible.
Yeah.
You freak.
Yeah, it's a nasty one for sure. Erika, I did want to ask you or actually first I wanted to say with the WNBA, I was under like someone was talking about it the other day on a pod I was listening to. They go from like the Final Four to the draft to the start of the season in like less than a month. How is that a thing that is happening? And what the hell are we doing in terms of our planning of this league?
I'm so glad you asked about this, Damon, because I was literally just complaining about it. Okay.
It's nuts.
ISO.
Oh, the fact that they have 48 hours. I could be wrong. It could be 72. Either way is egregious. Um, to declare for the draft after they lose a basketball game. Listen, and I was talking about it with Tobe this morning. Think if you're South Carolina. I just lost the national championship. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm going to Cancun. Okay.
Yeah.
I got paid fat to come to the SEC to play basketball, and I've lost. I'm going to Cancun. Like, just for a day, couple days, I'm not sure, but thinking about the WNBA draft. And the reality is, I don't know Carter personally, but Carter's had all this time to think. I'm sure he's been to Cancun twice in this window of time. And yet he still hasn't declared for shit. And like, no, to your shade, Carter, take your time, boy, make a good decision. That said, like, these dudes just get forever, and like it is really frustrating because the window is so small. Like, I saw a TikTok. One of the first TikToks I saw this morning was like, I need the WNBA to move up. What am I supposed to do for the next 4 days? Literally, what am I 4 days? That's like what the offseason feels like for women's basketball.
Less than a business week. Like you're not even done with
It's
your work week by the time
insane.
the WNBA comes back.
I was like, oh, maybe I could take a break off Twitter this weekend. No, I can't. I cannot. Like, the WNBA draft is here, and it's just with the CBA being renegotiated this year, I really am praying that the whole thing gets renegotiated in some way. But I think it's unfortunate because I love the summer schedule. I get to watch women's basketball year round. Like, I don't ever get really like a time where I'm like, dang, I can't watch Sabrina Ionescu or Malaysia Full Wiley hoop today. Like, that happens like again 4 days out of the year. So it's like, who cares? But like this for the student athlete experience is pretty crappy. Gotta be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
brutal. And then this was actually where I was going initially before I cut
sorry.
myself off and I had to ask you that question. But your favorite player, Tobe Awaka, he's back.
Bark, 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 bark. I know. I'm so excited. My shooter. I was just duking it out in the comments this morning of another podcast. Tobe Awaka is a shooter, and I'm not going to let anyone slander my boy's name, okay? I don't know if you heard, but 2 for 5 from 3. You know what I'm saying? On the year, my guy. That's my
40%.
dude. Like, bingo. I'm not going to be taking the slander any longer. So, yeah, if you have some, mean words to say about Tobe, maybe say them to like Damon or Kevin. I don't really know, because don't bring them to me, because you know what? I'm just going to, if anyone talks crap about Tobe Awaka, Caleb Love, or frankly, any other Arizona basketball player, muted section of my account. Muted, muted. I'm going to start smacking that on everybody. Woo! So watch
Erika
out.
saved up all her energy from missing several shows in the midst of all of this, and is bringing it all today. We got a yeehaw. We got a couple S words. We got a bork.
Sorry about that.
Bork.
Yeah.
We got all the energy of the muted. Like Erika is on fire today.
She really
Mike
is.
said you're cooking, and you are cooking today.
I'm gonna need some clips of that barking, Kevin. New reaction clip loading. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Erika is going to have you guys covered, of course, for the Becky Burke presser. So make sure you guys give her a follow if you're not doing so already. If you're not following Erika, you're absolutely crazy because Erika is one of the most electric Twitter follows in the Wildcats space of things. That is Erika Lee Day, and there's no H in that. It's Lea. So make sure you guys follow Erika. She's going to be tweeting out about this presser. And of course, we're going to be covering it as well. PHNX _Wildcats on Twitter. Give us a follow as well. Pumped up about this press conference. Can't wait to see what it brings. Erika, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I was just thinking like maybe we should like have a plan to like follow up on this, So, just keep me on the agenda, the dock, if you will. I really enjoyed this. Had a lot of fun today. I got to stay home from my day job. So really, really enjoyed that, aspect of things.
We certainly will, Erika. And this was one of the most electric guest appearances, I think, in the history of this fine program. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. I am Damon Dog. That's DAWG on the end of that guy. And of course, like I said, we are PHNX _Wildcats on Twitter. Give us a follow. We'll be covering the Becky Burke press conference and giving you all the information of what's going on in the world of Arizona. What's up, Kevin?
Damon, do you think we're out of here? I'm not done with. Oh no! Once Erika gets out of here, I got some ish to show you. I got some things to show you from the social media realm.
All right, I forgot.
It's all good.
Kevin's got a fun little Friday
some presents
segment
for you. Yeah, we gonna bring it up.
We're gonna hit that real quick. Shout out Erika. Thank you so much for being on the show, Erika. And that was an absolutely electric
See
appearance.
y'all next.
Toby says electric is one way to describe it.
LOL.
All right, we will catch you later. Drop a like for Erika. She killed it today. All right, Kevin, hit me.
All right, so chat, I want to start doing this thing where I bring, random things from the internet that I find sports related, of course, usually NCAA related, to the table. And I'm going to start here. And, Damon, you were talking earlier about college basketball, the college sport. What happened to the game I love?
Of course.
You know what I mean? And I thought that this stat was absolutely bonkers. Travis Branham tweeted, there are at least 8 teams that will have $10 million plus roster values in college basketball next season per 24/7 Sports sources. And 1, Damon, have you seen this? And 2, Damon, what are your thoughts on this incredible salary capless sport that we have embarked upon?
I think we need a salary cap. I would be interested to see, what does he mean by that exactly? Because I guess perceived value or value that someone could get on the open market is different than what a player is getting, right? Because you look at Arizona's roster, I don't think Arizona is maybe blowing teams out of the water, Kevin, in terms of NIL payments, but I think a lot of the players on the roster are extremely valuable if they were to hit the open market, right? We saw that with KJ Lewis and Henry Vasar, where they got scooped up by 2 programs that have a lot of money to spend. And one of them in particular being one of the blue bloods of the sport in Georgetown. I would imagine that their donor base is they got plenty of fat pockets. So I don't know. Does that mean that could Arizona be in that list? Because I think that if Arizona was not, I don't think we're paying our team $10 million, but I do think that our value of our roster, you could make the argument, is of that that amount. So. Interesting.
When I read it, I was assuming NIL value of the roster, each individual added up, because AJ, if you look at BYU, AJ DeBansa and Rob Wright
alone,
that's 10 plus. That's 10 plus right there, and you ain't even got to any other person on the roster.
Have you seen the BYU fans recently? By the way,
no.
They are losing it, dude.
In what way?
They're trying to how obviously everyone sees $3.5 million and whatever, $6 million, whatever they're paying DeBansa. And people are like, man, BYU's just paying it up the wazoo. And then BYU fans are finding every little thing that they can to be like, I thought that players only came to BYU to get paid a lot of money. And it's yeah, yes, you got that right. What are we talking about? No one's saying that, Rob Wright couldn't get a lot of money from a different school, but BYU is in fact offering that money. It's it's okay to say, yes, we have Ryan Smith who is willing to pay whatever amount of money in our athletic department to pay for every player under the sun, steal hockey teams from cities that, deserve them and, put them in their garbage, old basketball arena.
Give him a Chat GPT created name.
Yeah, and logo. So it's like, yes, BYU fans, you are paying a lot of money for your team, and that is why these players are going to your school. Why is that so? Like, also, Kevin Young is a great coach.
Incredible coach.
No one's disagreeing with that. But like, to act like BYU is not benefiting from NIL is so out of left field.
It's pretty naive, yeah.
It's wild to me, dude. These BYU fans are like up in arms right now, arguing with people, being like, "Oh yeah, everyone only wants to go for money, huh?" Yes.
That's actually why most college players are going literally anywhere now, is for how much money can you pay
think Rob Wright dreamed of being a BYU Cougar as a child? Are you out of your mind?
Walking up to Scott Drew like, "Coach, I'm transferring. I'm going to enter the portal." "Oh, really? Like, I mean, I understand. Like, your NIL valuation must be high." "No, Coach. I've just always wanted to be a BYU Cougar.
It's been my dream.
And being a Baylor Bear is not good enough."
I told my mom when I was a kid. She said, "What school do you want to play for?" And Kentucky, Duke,
the Cougs.
And I said,
Houston?
No. Oh, God,
Washington
no.
State? No. BYU.
Brigham Young, brother. I want to be in Provo. Who doesn't? But yeah, I just think that discourse that's going on right now is so funny. BYU, obviously, deep pockets. They're gonna have a great team next year, no doubt about it. And like I said, Kevin Young is a great coach, and I'm sure he's selling them on their development as well. But to act like the money is not a factor in that, like Arizona is not going to pay one player $3.5 million, let alone 6 like Dabansta's making. So I don't know, but it's a wild world we're living in, Kevin. And we need some regulation. I think that is the at the end of the day, that is the name of the game. That is the story.
And I got one more thing for you before we get out of here, Damon. And this is a fun one for everybody in the chat. So I don't know if you've seen this, but recently there is a former NCAA coach of high prestige and high acclaim. People know this man very well. He has been going on Twitter revealing some of the old secrets from back in the day, just old stories. He's been doing really cool videos where he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a situation. Do you are you making choice A, B, or C?" And then he, explains why he made the choice he made as a coach. It's actually really cool stuff, but it's also kind of like, at some point, it's like, oh, this guy is extremely bored. He's an older gentleman who had a lifelong passion and now has all this pretty much 23 hours of free time on his hands, and this is what he's doing with it. So, story number 1. And at the end of this, I'm going to have you guess which coach it is. True story. When I was an assistant at UVA, we flew recruits in a private jet, totally legal. One weekend, we had 4 kids from New York. One Lear jet had 2 pilots, a flight attendant, and we served breakfast on board. First class all the way. First of all, the legality of this, I feel like, he had to throw the totally legal in there because we're getting Lear jets and full class breakfast. One of the recruits had a dog. When we picked him up, the dog ran out. A minute later, the cab pulls, bang, runs over the dog. The recruit jumps out to check on it, and the dog bites him, ripped a 3-inch gash in his hand. We told the parents not to worry. UVA had the best hand doc in the country, wrapped his hand in a towel, still took the visit. Doc stitched him. We had a great visit. The best part is the dog lived, and he signed with us. Second story after that one. True story. A recruit on an unofficial visit with his parents spent the night with our players, told them he was heading back to the hotel. At 3 a.m., I got a call from his dad. "Where is my son?" I jumped in a car and found him walking hand in hand with a girl on campus. Dropped her at her dorm, him at the hotel. Said, "Fun is over, kids." Thought we were out. He committed 2 months later. True story. Damon, guess that coach.
At Virginia?
He was an assistant there at one point.
And you said he's an older gentleman.
Yes, recently retired, I believe, last season. Not this past season, but the season before. Coach had a premier, big program. I wouldn't say like a blue blood, but a big program.
Gotcha.
On the East Coast.
Interesting. This isn't exactly... I don't want to sit here and just say nothing for a long time, but I'm trying to think real quick.
Well, I'll give you a 10 count. We got 10, 9.
I don't love the timer. That puts so much more pressure on me.
I could give it to you because it is a coach. It's a tough guess. I kind of want to just guess one person before. Then go for it.
But I'm struggling even thinking of somebody to guess. So it's someone that I would know.
Yeah, you would have heard of this person. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
He coached in the ACC.
Coached in the ACC. That's kind of the vibe I was thinking of. And
Chat saying Jay Wright. It is not Jay Wright.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Bennett's the Virginia guy, but...
First letter of the first name is correct. So Dylan Carey, you're on the right track. Desert Fox, you're on the right track.
Yeah, throw your chat, throw your guesses here in the chat, and let's make this interactive. We're trying to figure out
which coach had a dog run out, get hit by the car, attempt to get help. The dog bites the recruit's hand, gash. Recruit still takes the visit. Dog lives. Recruit signs.
Thinking of ACC coaches, man,
it's a toughie. I knew this one would be a toughie.
Yeah. I like this guessing game though. We should continue to do this on this pod.
I'll keep doing.
It's good for the chat to get involved too, and
but I do feel like in the interest of time, I should reveal it.
Hit me with it.
And the coach is none other than Jim Larinaga.
Wow.
And if you do go to that @ on Twitter, it is his real account.
Didn't he retire? He retired this season when he like in the first couple weeks of the season in the middle of the year. Coach L did.
I do believe so. So maybe I might have led the chat astray with that one.
No, it's all good.
But the year was 2024 when he retired.
That's wild though, dude. Like,
yeah, go check out his Twitter. He's been doing some really interesting stuff over there. But I thought that story with the dog was especially crazy, and I thought him going out at 3 a.m. to break up. I
should have got that.
Some sort of.
I'm pretty locked in on Miami, so I should have been able to get that.
Yeah, the second one was pretty Miami.
With the retirement one, with the J as the first letter of the first name, that's on me, guys. But yeah, Jim Larinaga, all-time coach and apparently all-time storyteller as well now.
Yeah,
Kevin,
just dishing out all the trade secrets now.
Of course. Anything else to make me look silly before we log off on this Friday?
But I will say that is extremely tough. You know what I mean? Because like. You're saying you're being hard on yourself. Oh, I should have got it because of this, or I should have got it because of that. I gave you the entirety of the coaching ranks, and I'm also telling you non-active. So now you have to think of active coaches that then retire. I put you in a tough spot. I acknowledge that, but it was more so I wanted to see if you were able to guess it for whatever reason, you will look like a genius. So.
Erika, I feel like he didn't divulge that information in respect for especially the one of the player with the holding hands with the girl at 3 a.m. walking down campus. But
could you imagine real quick being that recruit? You know, you're like, oh, I'm out in the town with the boys. I'm one of the boys walking down imagine walking down the mall at U of A. 3 a.m, you're holding a pretty girl's hand. All of a sudden, out of the darkness, just walks Jim Larinaga,
just in a golf cart.
What are you doing? You were where your dad's calling me asking where that would have been terrifying. I never would have gone out past midnight ever again.
The heart sinking to the bottom of your toes, just like, oh my god.
The girl's like, who is this old man berating you? What is
Get in the car. Get in the car.
Is it your grandfather? Are you adopted? What's happening?
Young lady, what dorm do you live in?
I'm taking you home. Who are you? Yeah, that's a wild story, man.
That is an absolutely wild story. That's
Damon,
good stuff.
today.
I love this game. We're going to continue it. That's my guy, Kevin Thomas. He is at Kevo Post. I'm Damon Fairall. I am at Damon Dog. We are the PHNX_Wildcats show on Twitter, AZ Wildcats show here on YouTube. We appreciate everybody for watching. We will be back on a Monday for a 12 p.m. noon edition of this fine program. And until then, we will catch you later. But don't go anywhere. Make sure you guys are locked in for the Becky Burke press conference. Erika's going to be there in person, boots on the ground, giving us all the details, tweeting from her own account, tweeting from our account. We're going to make it happen. So shout out everybody for being here on a Friday. We love you guys. Make sure you drop a like on this video so me and Kevin can get some decent sleep over this weekend. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Shout out all my best friends in the entire world, blood brothers and sisters. And until next time, peace out, bear down.
Go Cats. Becky the Builder, can she fix it? Yes, she can.
We all silly like the mayor.